that feels so nice to say. First of all, um, was that, the first few days it was like high energy, fun, fun, fun. And then all of a sudden I had a moment where I just felt like all the energy got zapped right out of me and I napped, which I like never ever do. And that felt wonderful as well. And it made me think a lot about rest and rejuvenation and how we need to cultivate. I need to take my own advice. We need to cultivate more built-in rest periods in our lives than I think most of us do. I'm not alone in, kind of like going too much too far before taking a rest. I think it's pretty common. It's kind of built into our culture, really, to just have this emphasis on go, go, go. So restorative, we're not going to do restorative poses today, but I just want to talk a little bit about it. When we were in person, oftentimes in the classes, I would try to end class with a restorative pose before Shavasana at the very least. And then, of course, sometimes we would do a whole practice in restorative postures. So if you are like me and you tend to just be, like an engine that just doesn't stop moving, and then, and you need to kind of force yourself to take some rest, remember that there's a whole bunch of the restorative classes in the class library from when I was teaching restorative classes last summer. So you can find those and just allow yourself an opportunity to give yourself the gift of an hour of restorative poses sometimes. And then if you can't find the time to do an hour of restorative yoga, can you, like just little snippets through your day, can you take time to put your legs up the wall in the middle of the day? Can you take the time for a Supta Baddha Konasana? Can you take the time for meditation? Can you take the time for some breath work? Have you ever done yoga nidra? That's another beautiful gift of restoration. So to know that it's very healthy for us to have the breathing in and the breathing out, that we have moments of activity and then we need moments of rest and rejuvenation. And the more readily we build that into our rhythm of our days, instead of like the 1 week out of the year kind of thing, it's much healthier for us in the long haul. So I'm learning that lesson. So I just offer that to you because maybe you're like me and just keep going until you conk out. So in our practice today, I'm gonna try my best moving forward to try to return to that state of offering a restorative a restorative pose at the end of class periodically. And even if we don't, know that you're home by yourself. You can turn me off when it gets time for Shavasana and go do a couple restorative poses and spend an extra 10 minutes in your practice. This is the gift of practicing in your own home. And then the last thing I want to say about that is that, things are going to start opening up soon. So I would love some feedback about that. For those of you who are members of the J, it's opening back up in May. Apparently, I'll believe that when I see it. So I'd love some thoughts on where you would like to go from here as far as returning to in-person classes, staying online. So, give me some feedback when you are ready to give me some feedback, and I'll send an email out too. Okay, so let's sit up straight and tall. And take a moment to allow yourself to be here now. First, just absorb your yoga community. Like, here we are practicing together, even though we're alone. Can you feel the connection through the Wi-Fi to each other? Why is it easier to show up to a live online class versus a library class? There is an energy of coming together. So let's experience that. And then come into just getting to know how you are in this moment. How are you today? How is your body? Are you able to know how you feel? Are there any banished places within you that you kind of like are looking off in the other direction or not wanting to face because of discomfort in some way? How is your breath? This is yet another aspect of building in the restoration through your day. The breath, just a simple single breath, can be very restorative. So open the gateways, let any binds that you notice right away. See if you can unlock the breath a bit. And know that it probably takes time to unlock it fully, but just be aware. Is stress or whatever you're working with impacting the way you're breathing? How about the state of your mind? Are you replaying, what's on speed dial in your brain? What kind of thoughts keep replaying? And then how about your emotional states? Are you in touch with how you feel? Let's find our way into our hands coming to the center. Find this centered, deep place of focus, the mind, the third eye, the heart, the hands. Offer an intention for whatever you just found in a little bit of self exploration. What do you need? What do you need your practice to help you with today? And let's release the hands and come onto your back. So let's find our way. And as you come to lie down, notice the surface that you're lying on. See if you can sense into the feeling of giving your body up into the earth. So restorative poses don't necessarily have to be, now I'm going to do an hour of restorative classes. It could just be the way you are in your body. Can you cultivate ease even within effort? If you can master the art of relaxation within activity, there is a gift to be had there. So let's drop our limbs. Notice your knees, your elbows, your wrists, your ankles. Notice your hips. Notice your shoulders. Feel your spine. Allow yourself to be weighted on the floor. All right, and then when you're ready, pick up your knees and bring them to your chest and rock a little bit. And just check in. How's your back today? How's your sacrum? All right. Let's circle the knees one direction and feel into the weight across your sacrum, your sacroiliac joints. And feel the other way, circle the other direction. All right, and then let's pull our knees apart from each other and swing them back in. Just finding that sense of mobility in your hips. Notice how moving your hips affects your spine and your pelvis. All right, and then 2 feet onto the ground and just allow the femur bones to drop into the pelvis. Put your hands on your low belly and take a deep breath into your abdomen. I mean, your breath's not going there, but feel your organs move, the wave of your breath. Can you let your body rest? Come into the sensation of good, deep breathing. Let your diaphragm release. Walk your hands a little higher and put them on your lower rib cage and feel your breath here. Can you let your ribs flare out left and right? Can you feel the work of moving the diaphragm? Are you able to breathe deeply? All right, and then let's go ahead and starfish our body out. Spread your limbs, stretch into your fingers and your toes. Then squeeze every muscle you can find here for a moment. Just give some invigoration. And then draw the knees into the chest. Maybe pick up the head. Maybe the head wants to stay down. Okay, a couple more times, moving with breath.
Expand your body open, and then close your body up. One more time. Expand the body open, and then close the body up. Place your head back down onto the ground, grab a strap, and we're going to bring our right knee into our chest. The left foot is going to stay on the floor, so the pelvis is in a nice neutral place. Of course, you can ignore me and just stretch your left leg straight on the ground if you want to. Reach your right leg straight up in the air. Move your hip away from your shoulder. And find that elongation of reaching up through your foot, reaching down through your hip. Spread open your hamstring muscles, soften your knee, be active in your foot. See what it feels like in your pelvis here and in your spine to have everything be pretty neutral as you open up the legs. Feel the elongation, that spinal elongation, the axial extension through the spine. Okay, keeping the left knee bent, let's cross the right leg over to the left. Move your hip away from your shoulder. You can always put your hand on the strap, left hand on the strap and right hand on your hip if you want. Be mindful to soften the knee. Be mindful to press through the big toe and the inner heel. And then come back up towards center. Open up the right leg out to the right and let your left knee either point straight toward the sky, or you can open your left knee out to the side to stabilize your pelvis. Try not to roll. See what it feels like to allow yourself to only go as far as your body can stabilize. Start to use your core here. And then when you're ready, lift that leg straight up in the air. Reach the foot up one more time. 2 hands on the strap. Relax your shoulders. And then we're going to add the left foot into that strap. 2 legs. So a little leg up the wall without a wall. Extend through the spine here. Extend through the legs. Rise up, root down. Take the left foot in the strap. Right foot comes onto the floor. Neutral pelvis. Can you feel a low back curve? Can you feel that you're not pushing your lumbar spine into the ground? Feel the femur bone move away. Rise up through your foot, root down through your hip. Relax the shoulders. Remember, the places you can find ease are a gift. If you're tied up in knots, see what you can do to choose a spot to focus on. Or, I'm going to always make sure my right palm is relaxed through my practice. Or I'm going to relax my neck the whole time through my practice. It might be helpful to just pick a spot on your body and see how often you can bring ease to that place. Cross the left leg over to the right. Maybe you want a hand on that hip, maybe you don't. Stretch through the big toe and inner heel. Make sure you're not locking out your left knee. Notice if your right knee wants to cave to the midline. See if you can keep a sense of neutral in your pelvis. And then lift that leg straight up. We're going to take the strap in the left. Either choose to butterfly, open your right leg, or open your or keep your knees straight up. See what's going to help you stabilize the pelvis on the floor, so you're not allowing your hips to roll. So only go as far as your body says go. Lift that leg straight back up again. One more time, 2 feet in the strap. Separate your feet now, like maybe a couple of feet apart, wider than your hips. Take your femur bones back, lengthen through your spine. Try not to lock out your knees. And then bring your legs closer together. Rise up with your feet, root down through your hips. And then bend your knees back to your chest. And then let's roll over onto our side and come up onto our hands and our knees. Okay. So as you start to find cat-cow, what a gift cat-cow is, especially if you are feeling vulnerable in your back at all. It's such a gentle way to not only warm up the spine and all the muscles along your spine, but to really kind of get a sense, where is my mobility at? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? What am I able to do with a sense of ease? So just rolling through the spine, feel the pelvis move. So allow yourself to go into an anterior and posterior tilt of the pelvis. So you can sense how the spine and the pelvis move together. And also sense how the head and the spine move together. So notice those places. It's not just the mid vertebrae that we're looking for. We're looking for the whole thing from crown to tail. And then feel free to move this pose around. Maybe try doing some circles. You can gently circle your pelvis. Maybe you want to swish from side to side. So just see what feels good as you loosen and warm up all the little nooks and crannies. Move your shoulders around, move your neck around. Okay. All right, and then staying on all fours, we're going to bring our right foot straight back behind you. Lengthen your crown forward. Find that axial extension. Stretch your calf. And then bring your foot, cross it over to the other side of your mat. And we're going to turn and look out over your foot. So the left foot has crossed to the right. We're turning and looking out over our right side at your left foot. Open up that side body. Breathe there. And then come back to center. Back to child's pose before the second side. Feel that compression in the hips. And then rise back up, take your right foot back. Curl your toe under, stretch your calf, find your breath. And then we're gonna cross the right foot over to the left. Keep your hips and your shoulders facing the floor and turn and look out over that foot. Breathe into the side body, stretch. You know, the transverse abdominis is a hard muscle to stretch because of the way the fibers work. So just see if you can feel not only the obliques and the low back muscle, but as you breathe, can you sense a little stretch in that transverse abdominis? Okay, come back to center. As we come into child's pose, have a deep anterior tilt. So lift and widen your sit bones and take your femur bones way back. Feel the deep compression in the hip joints. Walk the hands forward, finding that breath. Relax the spine. Now, in the interest of just warming the spine up a little bit more, we're going to go back and forth. This is a very healthy way of doing child's pose, and we're going to do it in the two different ways one might, just to find some flexion in our spine, gentle flexion in our spine. So we're going to come back up onto all fours, tuck the tailbone, round the spine, and roll back. Be very gentle, because this is not always the healthiest of patterns, but it can stretch the low back muscles well. And then come back up and anterior tilt the pelvis. Sit bones high and wide and come back to child's pose. Move with breath one more time each direction. Come on up to all fours. Tuck the tail, round the spine. Come back into child's pose. And then coming back up, tip the pelvis, sit bones high and wide, and drop back down. Walk the hands over to the right side of the mat. Open up the left rib cage and breathe. And coming over to the other side, inching over. Feel your forehead relax toward the floor. Nothing has to touch, but just find that sense of ease. Where is that part of your body that you've picked that you want us to keep track of? Can you soften there? All right, let's come back up onto your hands and your knees and turn this into a dog pose. Lengthen and stretch through your side bodies. See what it feels like to pedal your feet here, and maybe bend one knee at a time. Feel a little zing up through your calves. See what it feels like to open and widen your feet, get the bones of your feet to spread. And then as you settle, take your time to settle. Bend your knees as much as you need to so your pelvis can tilt a little bit, a little anterior tilt to the pelvis. Feel the extension through your spine. Push off your hands. Hug your hands a little bit toward each other so there's some support through your torso. And then lengthen again, heart toward your hips. Relax your head. All right, great. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees a lot. Or a little, see what your body's needing. Inhale for a halfway lift. If you have blocks right handy, try half lift with the blocks instead of on your thighs, so you can really feel the axial extension, that space between your vertebrae. Take the heads of the thigh bones back, soften your knees. Extend your crown. How's your breath here? Remember those hands on your belly and hands on the ribs. See if you can imagine those hands there. Breathe into your hands, those side ribs expanding. And then relax and now push off your feet. Rise up, bringing your arms to the sky. Find your breath. Open up your arms, maybe cactus, maybe arms out. Just get your chest to broaden and open to get a little bit more free. And then release your arms. Shake out your hands, shake out your shoulders. Any kind of movement in your upper body. You can roll your shoulders around a little bit if it feels good. All right, and then ground yourself. Find Tadasana here for a moment. Root your feet, root to rise, soften your knees. Deep low belly. Can you find ease there? Take a breath. Open the chest. Lean back a little bit if it feels good. Exhale and float forward. Bend your knees a lot. Okay. Inhale for a halfway lift. Straighten your legs. Exhale and melt to come back down. Let's step back to a lunge. Right foot comes forward. Left foot comes back. Put your knee down onto the ground. Let's just open the hip flexors a little bit here. Feel the chest rise. Breathe well. Notice if you fall, if you just kind of sink into your hips, see if you can press your front foot into the ground, press your back shin into the ground, hug your front heel and back knee toward each other, hug your inner thighs toward the midline. See what kind of support you can cultivate so you're not just falling in the posture. Rise up, bringing the arms upward if it feels good. And then one hand on your thigh, maybe your forearm crosses over. Maybe you want something deeper than this. Maybe you want something more backed off. So your twist is your twist. So you need to be very mindful of what movement feels nice to you. If you're very open and you want to put your elbow on your knee, that's great. If you're feeling like you need to be a little bit more gentle, maybe your hands on the floor or your hands on a block. Okay. If your hands, someone hurt themselves recently that I know, putting their hand on a block this way. If you're going to put your hand on a block, put it on the lowest height. If you need more height, stack 2 blocks instead of having 1 block on the thin height. Because if you can hurt your wrist if you fall off of that height. Extend the spine, crown and tail. Keep supporting. Use your obliques to do the twisting here. Be very mindful about how far your body wants to be in the pose. And then relax. Notice what your back thigh was doing. Did it drop into the earth? Can you lift it? And lift that kneecap off the ground. Lift and extend the spine forward. Engage through your core. Step back to dog pose. Deep breath here. Open things up. Bend your knees as much as you want. Do you want to wiggle? Do you want to pedal? What's in the mood? And let's go ahead and bring our left foot forward. Place your right knee back down onto the ground. Open up the hip flexors. So bring your hand onto your knee. Notice if you just like to fall. If you're very flexible, especially, you can lean very heavily into ligaments, and let's try not to do that. Support yourself. Press your front foot into the ground. Feel your glutes. Hug your foot and knee toward each other. Press your back shin into the floor. See what you can find to support yourself. Up you go, lifting the arms to the sky, finding the breath. And then we're going to cross over to a twist. So your body does your twist, nobody else's twist, just what's available for you. If you're not sure how far to go, go where your breath takes you, where your exhales take you, go where your obliques take you. Try to get your arms out of the equation. Let them just be support instead of a leverage that you're leaning on. Great, and then release. Bring your hands back down onto the ground. Lift your knee off the floor. Find that extension. Back to a plank. Hands down onto the ground. Feel that sense of stability moving through your core. Finding that strength. Can you still feel the rib cage flare on the breath? All right, let's put our knees down onto the ground and come back to child's pose. Anterior tilt of the pelvis. Breathe into the low back. And then as you're ready, lift up to dog pose. Inhale, lift your right leg up in the air. Exhale, and bring your nose right to your chest. Use your core. Inhale, bring that leg back. Now we get to bring the foot forward. Come into a lunge. When you're ready, rise up. Crescent lunge, bringing the arms to the sky or anywhere you want them to be. So, your arms don't have to go up. So if your shoulder's bothering you or you feel like you need a different kind of heart opening, take what feels right for you. Try not to compress in the back body and pop the ribs out. See if you can integrate. Your back knee can soften a little bit more perhaps to help you stabilize the pelvis. Where are you in your space right now? How does your body feel with what you're doing? Are you able to open up? Are you able to find ease in that place? Let the ease spread. Okay, and then release the hands. Grab your 2 blocks and hop up onto your 1 foot. So be very mindful if you're on these tall blocks so that you're, just what I said about falling. So see, sometimes having 2 hands on blocks is a little bit more stable than twisting with 1 hand on a block, but try to find as stable of a place as you can. Notice your back leg. Is it dropping low? See if you can engage your glutes, engage your core, pulse a few times, feel the inner spiral of your sit bones widening. And then exhale and place that foot down onto the ground. Fold, bend your knees. Step back, dog pose again. Inhale, left leg up in the air. I'm sorry, did I just say? Yeah. All right, bring that knee in to the chest. Bring it on back. And then bring it forward to a lunge on this side. Stabilize, use your core, support your spine, rise up. Maybe your arms are back and you're leaning forward a little bit. Maybe your arms are up in the air, maybe your hands are on your hips. What's going to be most supportive for what your body needs right now? Hug into the midline with your legs. See if you can find that rooting to rise, the root to rise. Breathe well. Can you feel those ribs moving outward, feeling expansive? And then when we're ready, hop up onto that left foot, stretch your right leg straight back behind you, extend the spine. Feel how much your outer hip on that standing leg has to work to hold you here. Inner spiral the thigh in the air, so a little internal rotation, just enough to balance the pelvis. Extend the spine again, crown to tail. How's your knee you're standing on? Can you soften? All right, and then let's put that foot down onto the ground, 2 feet, hip width apart, hands on blocks. Isometrically pull your feet apart from each other. Feel that work of the hips, the glutes, and then exhale and fold down. Stick a block between your thighs. Okay. We're going to lean forward in chair pose and bring your arms back behind you. Start to find your triceps engage a little higher than your spine. Breathe deeply, knees back into the hips. Spread your toes around. Find the breath. Isometrically drag your feet apart from each other. Feel some different strength in your glutes. Hug the block and pull your feet apart, both. Leaning forward. And then go ahead and stand on up. Lift your arms if you're able to, finding your breath. And then regular old chair pose. Okay, so you can have your hands down. If up bothers your back or your shoulders, you can have your arms anywhere. So experiment. Find the place that's right for your body for this moment. Allow your knees to drop back into the pelvis. A little neutral in your low back. Try not to round the spine. Try not to overarch the spine. Hug the block. Widen the feet, hug the block. Okay, and then stand on up. Fold forward, take the block out. Actually, leave the block in there. Fold forward, bend the knees. Step back to dog pose with the block. Take your feet back. Allow the slight hug of the block. It's not super strong. To give you a sense of stability in your sacrum, in your pelvis, in your pubic bone. See if you can find the pelvis stabilizing itself because of that support. Okay, come forward into a plank with the block. Move your shoulders away from the ears. Finding the breath, move outward in those ribs. All right, and then come down onto your knees and get that block out of there and come down to lie on your belly. Breathe deeply here. Roll the shoulders a few times. Take a breath. Inhale, cobra pose. And then exhale and melt back down. Let this be gentle. Flow with your breath. Inhaling to rise up, feeling where your body wants to be in space. Exhale to come back down. This next one, take your arms out in front of you or down by your sides, you choose. Right leg, left arm lifting at the same time. Feel that cross line along your spine. Exhale and melt it back down. Change sides, left leg, right arm. Breathe deeply. Exhale and melt to come back down. Put your hands underneath your forehead. Pick up your feet and rock left and right. Come up onto your hands and your knees. Feel free to swish your spine around. Breathing well. Swirl things around to wherever your body is appreciating movement. And then a deep anterior tilt back to child's pose. Feel the deep compression in the hips. Okay, and then come back up. We're going to come up to stand, actually to bend forward, so Uttanasana. So walk your feet forward, come on up. We're going to take a block one more time in between our thighs, and this time take your hands to the outer knees. Squat pretty deeply. We're going to take a wide squat in a moment, but right now, knees back into the hips. Pull your knees into your hands. Press your hands into your knees. Wake up some of those outer hip muscles. Extend the heart forward. And then go ahead and stand all the way back up. Take the block out of there. Find the breath. Find your axial spine. Crown over tail. Soften your knees. Breathe into the low belly. Inhale, reach the arms, coming up. Exhale, and step your left foot back. So don't come forward, just step your left foot back. So the right foot is forward, the left foot is back. Shorten your stance, okay? Find your hands on your hips. Only go a teeniest bit forward, so not very far, like a couple inches forward. But reach the arms back. Reach your crown and your tail. Inner spiral the thighs. Widen the sit bones. Feel the feet root. Feel the hamstrings kick in. So we're both stretching and flexing simultaneously. Very healthy for the adaptability of your muscles, the resiliency of your muscles. Okay, great. And then walk that back foot forward and switch sides. Left foot forward, right foot back. Remember, you can take your foot out to the side as much as you want. Feel the extension through your heart. Reach your arms back. So pull your shoulders down just a bit away from the ears. Maybe your palms want to face forward, maybe in. Square up the hips, internally rotate the thighs, widen the sit bones. There's a lot of work to be had here. So as you root into the feet, rise through your crown. Feel the spine elongate. Can you feel that your glutes and your hamstrings, even though they're stretching, they're flexing? Can you feel how this is strengthening for your muscles? You're giving them adaptability by being here. And then come back up. Walk the back foot forward, and now we're going to take a wide squat. So take your knees, pretty wide. So we're stretching the inner thighs here. Root your feet into the earth. Open the chest. If you have a knee that you don't, that isn't so happy, can you find where that knee needs to be? Same with your hip. Find the placement of your side that's a little more vulnerable. What feels good? Let the inner thighs stretch. All right, and then come back up to stand. Walk the feet in, find your breathing. Move through vinyasa. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Step left foot back, right foot comes forward, lunging again. Rise up to a crescent. Find your body where it needs to be. Reach your arms back. Hop up onto your foot. Maybe your Virya-3 is right here. You're not leaning very far forward. Maybe you're leaning very far forward. Whatever is suiting your spine. So engage through your core. See if you can find those side ribs flaring with the breath. Lift your arms back, palms facing the floor. Triceps are engaged, back body is engaged, core is engaged. Can you feel the hamstrings and glutes in both legs working differently? The hips are balanced. Inner rotation of your leg in the air, the thigh in the air. And then a big giant step back. Virabhadrasana 1, place the heel down. Reach your arms up, lean forward. And then place your hands down onto the ground and come back to dog pose. Deep breaths here. Bend your knees, find the symmetry. Find your breath. All right, and then let's lift the left foot forward. Find a lunge. Place your legs well. You can always take your foot out to the side more. So however you need to be in space. Okay. Maybe your arms are coming up. Maybe your arms are coming back. Find what feels good. Breathe well. Okay, and then we're going to find our way into Virabhadrasana 3. So you get to decide. I would suggest arms down. This is definitely easier than for your spine. Okay, so as you hop up onto that foot, maybe you're up here. Maybe you're just kicked back a little tiny bit and lean forward just a little tiny bit. Maybe you're all the way into a right angle where your torso is parallel to the floor. Whatever you're choosing, inner spiral that thigh in the air, press into the feet. Maybe you're holding on to something with your hands. Okay. There's lots of ways to support yourself in this pose, so try not to just give up because it's difficult. Of course it's difficult. This is a hard pose. Breathe deeply. Lots of core, lots of back body, lots of hips. And then a big giant step back. Place the heel down onto the ground. Lean forward for this Vira 1. Arms can come up or out. All right, and then release the hands down onto the ground. Step back to a plank. Hold yourself steady here. Find that integration. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Put your knees down onto the floor and find your way to the ground. Deep breaths here. Put your head on your hands for a moment. Find your breath moving into the back of your body. Okay, and then maybe a cobra pose if it feels good. See what stabilizes your back, your sacrum. Okay, and then come back towards child's pose. Take an anterior tilt to the pelvis. Femur bones go way back. Sit bones high and wide. Find your breathing. Okay, now stretch the outer hips that we just kind of worked pretty hard. We're gonna come, this might be helpful to do against a wall if you need it. We're gonna do this in a couple different ways. So cross your right thigh behind your left thigh, kind of like cow face legs or eagle legs. And if you come into this and your back is super arched, then I want you to lean forward. I'm stuck by my table here, but you can lean forward. And if you're able to, come upright. All right, lift pubic bone toward navel. Try to ground both your shins. Okay. And then when you're ready, settle back toward sitting. Now your hips, your feet can come wide apart or closer together. Just come down, cow face legs, as close as you can come. Okay, and then we're gonna unwind that. Come back up. A wall might be very handy for you. Maybe not. You might be able to do this just with your hands on your blocks. Okay, we're gonna cross left leg behind right leg. Adjust your legs. You can take your feet wide apart, or you can bring your feet closer together. You can lean forward, or you can be upright. So see what's available to you. Drop weight into both shins, both knees. Lift your spine, axial extension. Breathing well. Relax the shoulders. Finding the breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to turn this into a seated posture. You can come all the way down on your bottom, or you can lean forward a little bit, whatever is best for your body. All right, unwind from that. Come back into dog pose and take a very wide-legged dog pose. So feet wider than the mat. Turn your toes in, extend through the spine, relax your head, press through your hands, reach your heart up toward the pelvis. Feel your legs widen. Okay. And then walk your feet to the middle of your mat and turn sideways on your mat. So we're going to come into Prasarita. We want our feet wide. Feet are turned straight. Okay, hands on blocks if you want. Hands on floor if you want. Just be where your body says go. Okay, take your femur bones back. Elongate the spine. You can come as far down as your body wants to go. Perhaps you want to do this with your hands against a piece of furniture or a chair or wall. So wherever you're going to get that long spine best. Soften the knees. All right, come back up right if you folded real deep. And we're going to come into Skandasana, but take your time. So if your knee doesn't bend all the way like this, that's okay. Hands on floor or blocks and just go wherever your body goes, okay? If you press, especially if you're high like this, if you press your heel into the earth and kind of push it away from you, you'll get a little more stretch in your inner thigh. Be really mindful to not hyperextend your knee here. It's so easy to do, to just let it flump toward the floor. And then rise back up. Walk your hands over to the other side. Bend that knee to wherever it naturally goes. Reach the heart forward. Stretch your inner thighs. All right, then come back up. Bend your knees. A very wide squat. Decide how your back feels best. Wide sit bones. And then we're going to come bringing our knees to the center and come onto your back. Okay, lie down. Take a moment, put your hands back on your belly, back on your ribs, wherever you want. Feel into the breath. If you got caught up in details, see if you can return to the whole. All right, we're going to come into bridge pose, and you get to decide if you want to do this very low, if you want to do this very high, if you want to do this with support, if you want it with a block under your pelvis, or support with a block between your knees. So just take any variation that feels right to you to have bridge pose in your world. All right, so root all four corners of your feet. Whatever your version you're ending up doing, root the feet. All right, let's go ahead and put your hips down. And you can choose, depending on how your back's feeling, to either windshield wiper your knees left and right, or to go to a full twist where we scooch our hips to the right and drop knees left. And hang out there for 2 or 3 or 4 breaths, and then repeat on the other side. So for some, this might be too deep of a twist for today, and you might prefer just rocking. For others, the deep twist might be just the ticket. So follow your instincts, follow your body's wisdom. The only reason you need me is so you show up on your mat. Everything else is just up to you. You just have to follow what your body is saying. What can you listen? Can you let your practice be all about listening to the body's voice? All right, so no matter what you're doing, take your time. If you're like, oh, I love this, I'm going to stay for a while, then you get to stay for a while. Otherwise, find that restful place for a moment, knees bent, feet on the floor. Ask your body what it needs. Does it need flexion? In which case, come into happy baby pose. Does it need something very neutral? In which case, stay there with your feet on the ground. Do you want a little bit more extension? Maybe just stretching your arms and legs far away from each other. So decide what's going to help you in this moment. And then relax. So either pigeon pose or reverse pigeon. Let's just stretch those hips. You can do the cow face legs too, the eagle legs, like we were doing standing. So that's another option. But just want you to stretch those hip muscles a little bit, your glutes. The good thing about doing reverse pigeon pose, well, really both pigeon and reverse pigeon, have this beautiful gift of surrender attach them if you can allow yourself. If you're in a place, if you're staying within your zone of ease, you can push that zone, you can spread the zone. But if you're staying in the ease, in the breath, this is a real gift of resting the spine, resting the pelvis in its stretch. All right, let's switch sides when you're ready. Perhaps you're like me and you want your foot on a piece of furniture instead of interlacing. Maybe you're in pigeon pose. Choose what's going to make your body feel good. Is your breath still wide and deep? All your exhale out. All right, as you come out of this pose, decide what your body needs. Do you want to bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit? Do you want to spread your limbs out on the floor and rest for just a moment? So before Shavasana, we're going to move into a restorative pose of your choice. So think about all the ones you know: leg up the wall pose, hard bench, Supta Baddha Konasana, Supta Virasana, a twist over a bolster, your calves up on a couch, a child's pose over a bolster, plow pose. I mean, there's just tons of choices. So whatever you're doing, make sure you have some support. Okay, so you want not to have, you don't want to have your limbs hanging. So the nervous system, if this is, this is why we're doing restorative poses, to recalibrate the nervous system, to help you cope with stress, to rejuvenate you. We want that parasympathetic drive turned on
for that to happen, if our limbs are hanging or our neck is hanging, our nervous system will not go off alert. We need to have support. The other thing we need is our breath. So take any props you need to make your body feel super supported. Check in and make sure whatever pose you're doing, make sure that you have what you need. Make sure that you're comfortable. Do you need to do any adjustments? And as you settle into whatever posture you're in, let your attention, your focus be on your breathing. That wide flare, deep belly breath. Let the diaphragm release and soften. Melt through your eyes, melt through your jaw. Melt your shoulders, melt your spine. Come back to your spot that you were picking for class to kind of experiment with working with ease and rest there. If you hang out in a restorative pose, but your mind is racy and you're not breathing, it's not going to serve you as best as if your mind is calm and your breath is deep. So do what you can to let the pose be very full, not just in the body, but in the mind and in the breath. As you are ready, you can stay here for 20 more minutes if you want to. There's no rush to move. So as you're ready, just let yourself fall into where you are at any time. We have, let's see, 7 more minutes of class. So there's no reason you have to come out of your restorative pose. You can be here the whole time. And at any time, as you're ready, you can come into Shavasana. So there's no rules. There's no I must do this and I must do that. Be in your breath. Let your body rest wherever it is being held. Can you feel your nervous system soften into that quieter, calmer place? Are you working with the breath? Let's begin to deepen your breathing. Before you move, can you melt your body one more time? Can you breathe and melt? Consciously give away what is not needed. Tension you're holding, thoughts you're holding. What is not needed? What can you release? And then begin to find movement, however that works for you. You can move your upper limbs, maybe stretch your arms overhead, maybe wiggle your toes, maybe curl into a ball. Remember, you can stay in Shavasana way longer. You can just ignore me and just stay put. As you're ready, come to sit. Let's bring our hands to our heart and find that focused place again. Whatever merits have gained in your practice, offer your energy outward to another. Send your care, your love. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.